Social justice means applying the law equally to all people, but in practice, that doesn't always happen. I'm John Gonzalez. I'm here with my former law partner, Jack DeRora. We practice law, we seek social justice. On this show, we reveal the conflict between the two.
You know, for a while, it was just us in the office over a cup of coffee talking about the news of the day. With social justice issues dominating our culture, our focus became how do we, as lawyers, make a difference?
And now it's not just us. Today we have Tracy Najera back with us. Hi, Tracy.
Hello.
Amanda and Elaine Berges, and we're going to talk about education in Brazil and America and comparing and contrasting the two. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Hello.
Jack, as you know, I taught fourth grade in West Virginia before I went to law school, and one of the big things was they didn't pay very much back then. I think my starting salary was $13,000 a year. But I've kept up with teaching. I've taught at the high school level, just various courses, but I also taught in college and then just retired from my law school teaching assignment. And I have to say that probably the college students were the easiest to teach, but I was just in love with all of my fourth graders when I taught elementary education. It was really a wonderful experience.
Good for you.
I wonder if, and we're going to talk with these ladies about the differences that might be seen in Brazil. And maybe I'd ask Tracy to introduce our guests and why are they in Ohio?
Yes, thank you. And thank you so much for having us here. So we are all part of Rotary. And Rotary, as you know, is an international organization. And the main purposes of Rotary are to build friendships, build peace, relationships across borders. And one of the programs of Rotary is Next Generation Service Exchange. So in this past year, I had the opportunity through Rotary District 6690, which is half of Ohio, to participate in an exchange program with 5 educators from Ohio to visit the state of Sao Paulo in Brazil and their Rotary clubs. And it was just a fantastic experience where we were able to go to 5 different cities, visit schools, primary, secondary schools, early childhood, universities, technical schools, schools for adults who maybe their education was disrupted at one point in time, and now they're upskilling for jobs. And I can't say enough about what we learned, what we experienced, and just the hospitality of the people that we met in Brazil and the Rotarians. So, as part of the exchange, we now welcome a group of 5 educators from the state of Sao Paulo in Brazil. And they range from college professors, English teachers at the primary and secondary level, everywhere in between. And so they're now having an opportunity to visit Rotary clubs in Columbus, Bexley-Whitehall, Zanesville, Circleville, Marietta, Dublin, to see what education looks like here. They visited colleges, technical schools, you name it. And in Bexley, they'll visit CSG and St. Charles and Bexley schools. So we're really excited for this opportunity to learn from each other, and, for us to share and bring back to our countries, what the other country's doing really, really well, and also, get a better appreciation for things that maybe our own countries might be doing better or doing well for certain students.
One of the things I learned last year traveling is that Portugal is a great place for Americans because they've been teaching their students English for the last 40 years. So almost everybody under the certain age there speaks very good English. And so if we were over there, Jack, we could communicate with them. Unlike when I was in Spain, I couldn't find my relatives because I don't speak Spanish, and it was very difficult.
Sure.
Amanda, how did you learn to speak English so well? It's almost flawless.
Thank you. In Brazil, we learn English in regular schools, but it's not good enough to be fluent at it. So when I was 11, my family took me to to language school. These are pretty common in Brazil. So during the morning, I was going to my regular school. And in the afternoon, twice a week, I would spend an hour there just learning English. And I took those lessons from when I was 11 years old till I was 16. But we've always had exchange students coming to our house because my mother, she's the one of the responsible ones. She's in charge for the exchange program in my district. So we've always had exchange students coming to our house from all around the world. And my mom doesn't speak English, so I'm always helping her. And this is why I also got the chance of practicing it. But I've also lived abroad, so it helped a lot.
I'm just curious, and when we were talking earlier about the different places in Ohio you've been, have you noticed any different accents? I know you were in southern Ohio. Now you're in kind of middle Ohio. But have you found the accents hard to follow or just more interesting?
I don't think it was hard to follow, but we could hear some differences between the accent you have here in Columbus and, for example, the accent people have in Circleville.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and Zanesville,
and
too.
Zanesville.
For me, Zanesville is hard.
Yeah, so for me, I think the most different accent was the Circleville one. How about you, Elaine? What was the most different?
Zanesville.
Yeah.
I think I have more difficult to understand. I think that because they speak fast, very fast. So it's hard to understand. Mm-hmm. Talking about my how I learn English, it's a curious fact that I started studying English when I was 14 years old. I'm 55 now. And then I learned how to read, I learned to speak, but I don't speak. And when in the last year, I have one of the Ohio team at my home, and I start to talk a little with the exchange Crystal, and after I have one exchange from Germany because I have two guys and both of them are participating from the Rotary exchange too, and then the Germany guy, he speaks Russian, German, and English. So I said, no, I need to talk in English with him because, and then I don't know if it's because I was at home, I feel more comfortable. I start to speak. After 30 years studying English, I start to speak.
There you go. You know, you can get by with a few phrases in Spain, and we learned mostly at the restaurants to say uno más when we wanted another drink.
Yeah, good.
But I did notice, though, that the people we would meet from other countries didn't just know English, but they spoke a few different languages, which
sure.
to me is amazing. I mean, how many of your friends do you know speak anything other than English? Very few.
Very few. And I think the big difference is when you're in Europe, you're surrounded by other countries and other languages. It's practically a necessity. In the United States, we just don't have that impetus to learn another language.
You know, one of the things I found really interesting when I was in Brazil were all the adults that I met who were still taking English classes because they wanted to perfect their English, they wanted to perfect their accents. And, Elaine's right. I mean, reading and writing a language and understanding is much different and actually easier than speaking it.
Oh, sure.
So, I mean, for as much as I can read and I can listen, to Spanish and understand everything that's going on, the hardest thing in the world is getting a sentence out. And I think partially it's because when you're an adult, you don't have that, that ego as a child. Oh, if I mess up, it's fine. I think it's harder when you're an adult. But so many Brazilian adults are constantly working on their English. And it was fantastic and very eye-opening for me.
I applaud that, for lack of a better phrase, work ethic.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So you've been into the schools and were able to observe. So let's talk about the differences. First of all, is there anything that really jumped out to you that was, wow, that this is not the way it is at home?
In general, we have a good impression about the American schools, and we identified both strengths and challenges as we have in Brazil. We like very much the career schools. We notice that they have very strong emphasis in practice and students' engagement. They use hands-on learning. We saw a lot of students hands-on, and the development of critical thinking, communication, and collaboration skill. We also notice that they have a close connection with partners. The schools have a lot of partners in the community and with the companies, and I think it is very important because it make the teaching enrichment the teaching. I think it was very interesting, and we saw some technologies in all of the levels of the schools. They using technology to improve teaching methods. I think it was very interesting.
Tell me something that really surprised you about the difference in educational processes.
I think we have seen a lot while in Ohio. We have visited so many schools. Something that really surprised me, especially in this region, is how art is everywhere. So we really liked the way students here are engaged through arts to be critical thinkers, because I think, of course, sports are something really important for everyone, to, have strong body, but it's also very important to be brainly prepared for things, not just physically prepared. So, and arts just open your mind, it opens your mind a lot. So we have seen many ways of exploring arts in schools here, which I think it's fantastic. Something I really liked, and actually not just me, but the other members of our group, we talked a lot about that. It's the teachers' planning. For example, in Brazil, you have to write every single step of what you're going to do in the classroom with your students. So it takes a lot of time to write it down, because maybe the principal or the coordinator of that school will check what you're doing with your students. But here we have checked some teachers' planning, and they just write in topics, which is way easier, because once you read it, okay, now that's what I'm doing to my students. And what else? We also liked a lot the alternative schools that you have here in the United States. In Brazil, we do have some adaptations in our materials, whenever I have any student with any disorder or, I have to adapt the material and I have to change my teaching strategies. But here, it's so nice to know that you have schools that people with ADHD or autism, they can go there because these people, they need more time to absorb content. So I just love to see how these people are very respected here, because in school, we always teach our students, we're not the same, everyone is different. But sometimes we forget that person may need an extra time to absorb the content I'm teaching. So this is something I thought was amazing here, those alternative schools, because we don't have alternative schools in Brazil. We have schools for people who has Down syndrome and some people that are autistic. Yeah?
Autistic.
But we don't have schools where maybe just kids that have ADHD could go, Sometimes those kids, they always go to regular schools, and sometimes we just take them out of the lesson to give them some extra attention so they can make their exercise by their own, but with an extra help of an assistant. But we don't really have alternative schools as you have here, and I think this is amazing.
Tracy said something about the fact that students with special needs, depending, are actually assigned one assistant. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
Tell me about that, because I don't think we do that here.
It's a law in Brazil. So whenever you have a student with any disorder, you need to have an assistant in your class, no matter if that student is maybe deaf or autistic. And so you need to have a diagnosis for that. So this is how it happens. So if the teachers or the school in general sees that student may need to go to the doctor to check what's going on, first we have to talk to the family. If they accept, they might take their kid to the doctor to check what's going on. Once you have the diagnosis, the school needs to provide an assistant for that kid. So especially in public schools, because in private schools, families are more able to afford paying extra for an assistant, but the government needs to provide assistance for that kid, for kids that have special needs. So I think this is great because, as I said before, sometimes that kid do not understand what the teacher is saying, so he has an assistant just to explain and show them the path, So I think this is something very good our government has been doing, right? I think it's...
Yes, but we saw here in one of the school we visit, I think it was a private school, and they have a guy that can hear. And so they have one woman that was making the
sign language teacher.
Sign language for him here in America. It was Zanesville?
It was in Zanesville, yes.
The student was mainstreamed, even though he was deaf?
What do you mean? Mainstream?
And included in a regular classroom with other children.
Yes.
Oh, good.
He was.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
They were. It was a second grade kid. And
Jack's trying to act educated. He heard the word mainstreamed once.
And he was in the classroom with everyone, just doing the same activities. He just had a sign language translator, teaching a teacher just translating everything in American Sign Language, which I thought was amazing. But
that is good.
Yes, it's amazing.
So here's a little tidbit. So here in Ohio, we have a state school for the deaf and a state school for the blind. And they're just about 3 miles up the road. And I used to work with both of the schools. Yeah, it was really interesting because many times what you see is where school districts don't have the resources or, the teachers to help those students, parents will actually send their children there to that school, and the children live there year round. And I would go and visit, and you would see second graders that are living there. And and all the way up through high school, actually some, a little older. But, it's a very caring environment and, it's like a family for many of these children. And the deaf community here in Columbus is pretty large, I think, because of that school. Yeah.
When you use the term mainstream. So when I'm Columbus Public is where I went to school, and we played basketball against the deaf school. And it was very interesting because to get them to stop between plays or whenever there was a timeout, they would beat these drums because of the vibration would tell them that they, needed to stop. But it was great to try to interact with them and to see that when I was in high school. But let me ask you this about sports. If you're not here in the fall, football dominates high school. I mean, it's throughout the country. High school football is such a wonderful but time-consuming thing for students. Do you have that type of dominance in sports in your high schools?
We have physical education, like PE lessons in Brazil, but I wish we could have something very similar to what you have here in the United States, that some kids, if they are very like into sports, it's easier for them to go to college or right?
Yeah.
We don't have that in Brazil, unfortunately. But we're very good at soccer, I could say.
But it is an incentive if it's done correctly, because, the athletes can get scholarships to college, and then if they're very good, can go on to a professional career. But they have to maintain their grades. And I know that when I was coming up in that atmosphere, all of the coaches and the administration made sure that the student athletes were actually students and athletes. So, but yeah, I was kind of curious. Have you gone to any sporting events? Have you had time to do that at any of the schools?
Not really, right? We haven't been. We have watched some PE lessons, but we haven't seen anything big, related to sports. But I think this is amazing, like that here. Students, if they're good athletes, they have better chances of going to college. We don't have that in Brazil, though,
we don't
not
have,
through sports.
We don't have that in Brazil, but in Brazil, where the sports is a way to avoid that the students quit the school. I don't know if the word right for quit, but school. They quit the school because when they have a sports group, he belongs to a group. They have more friends. Sure. In this group, and this is a way that's especially the private school used to maintain the students at this school. I have some nephews that they are very engaged in sports, né? And they want to stay in the school because of the thing.
Amanda, let's go back to something you said a few minutes back. You drew a connection, at least I think you did, between artwork and critical thinking. Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah.
I would never associate those two things. Help me with that.
Okay. I think that, something that arts make to us and to teachers and students, because art is something that it's not obvious, so... sometimes because I feel that students, they're always looking for answers, and sometimes they expect teachers to give them answers. So whenever you have, for example, an art piece, a piece of art, how do you say art piece?
Either one is good.
Yeah. You can ask them, so what do you see? Maybe just some of them will say, I just see many colors. But I think that this color reminds me of my best friend. I think this reminds me of a very happy moment of my life. So I think that art gives the chance of thinking out of the box. So we just, instead of, it's different from math, for example. 2 + 2 is 4. There's no other answer for that. But in art, you can just think whatever you want. And there are some arts that are going to impact you in a very happy way. Some are going to impact you in a dramatic way. So arts makes you think about your feelings. And when you think about your feelings, it gets easier to understand your friends' feelings, your teachers' feelings, because once you know what it's to feel lonely or to feel surrounded by many people, or you want people to feel that too. Sorry. So I think that here, like I said, I really like the way teachers explore arts with their kids, especially the little ones, like kindergarten, because they're learning how to deal with their feelings, So sometimes something very cool some people do is they play a song and they ask, what is the color you hear from that song? Does it make sense?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So some people there, they can actually see colors while they listen to music. So And you might find different answers. Some kid will say, "Oh, I see blue because blue makes me calm, makes me feel calm." And some of them will say, "Oh, yellow because this song reminds me of a sunny day that I have with my family."
Beautiful.
So I just think that arts, not just me, I'm sure Elaine and all the members of our group think that arts makes us think out of the box.
Yes, in college we prepare the students to work, to have a profession and do something. And in the past, the college are focused and we say the hard skills, the technical things. But when the students start working, they have problem with we call soft skills. They can't work in team, they can't communicate, and then this kind of work in arts prepare the students to learn how to work in team, how to say, how to
it works their
develop
social skills.
Yes,
right?
social skill.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear the word soft skills in terms of education with young children.
So one of the things that in my brief experience in elementary education, getting out of high school, when I got out of college, and maybe Tracy can address this, but that area of education was dominated by females. There's very few men that were teaching there. And then, as I said, I've taught at the college level and then at the law school. It seemed like that there was more of a balance. But do you find that in Brazil it is more dominated by women, or are there a lot of men?
More women.
Yeah, for sure. More women.
Almost 100.
Yeah, especially, I think I can count in my two hands with how many male teachers I have worked with. Yeah. Because in early years in primary, it's not that common to find male teachers. Usually they go to high school, they teach high school. So, I think I can count in my two hands how many male teachers I have worked with.
How about at the college level?
In areas like engineer, for example, you used to have more male than female. But now the students and the teacher, we have more female than male. Also in areas like civil engineer, electrical engineer, that we used to have a lot of male. Now the women are the biggest part.
There are a lot of challenges to our educational system, and one being resources. And if I can break it down further, a lot of professionals in our country gravitate to where the money is. When I got out of law school, the money was on Wall Street. A lot of trained lawyers went to do stock trades and stuff like that because that's where the money was. And I've always thought if we could put more money into teacher salaries, we would get more people interested and better and brighter. And is there an issue in Brazil with, salaries and attracting teachers?
No.
No.
Definitely. It's a problem. Can you talk?
Okay. Yes, especially if you work in public schools, salaries are a little bit lower comparing to teachers who work in private schools. We say in Brazil that teachers are teachers because we love what we do. So if you want to become a teacher, the first thing you got to do is to believe in education. So it's not like if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer where you get very well paid, In private schools, though, teachers are better paid, for sure. So some teachers, they prefer to work in private schools because they're going to be better paid. But I think this is a problem it's almost the same in comparing America to Brazil. We also face that, but I don't know, Elaine, if you know more about professors, how the salaries are among professors.
In the college, it's the same. It's the same. I was just want to say a little more about the difference about male and female, because we have more female in the university, and they said that it is because the way of the teaching, privilege. It's easier for women to learn and stay at the school because the way that women learn is different from the men. It is because we have, at least at the college, much more women than men.
You're going to visit, I don't think you have yet, the Columbus School for Girls.
No, not yet.
Yeah, we haven't been there yet.
But and so we toured that facility when our daughter was the age to go there, and they had some interesting statistics about how girls learn differently than boys, especially in the area of math is what I remember. And I'm proud of my oldest daughter because she's a math teacher, and she stayed in it when a lot of girls get out of math. When you're at these schools, do you notice, I want to talk more about the facilities and like the number of students. Were you surprised at how many students were in the classrooms, either a lot or a little compared to Brazil? And how did you like the actual school, the buildings, the facilities?
Well, regarding the amount of students in each classroom, if I compare public Brazilian schools to public American schools, you have less students in the classroom because in Brazil it's kind of common to have 30 students in one group in public schools. It also depends of the age of those students, like the little ones, kindergarten. Probably you won't find more than 20 or 15 students in a classroom in a public school. Mm-hmm. In private schools, we try to have no more than 20 kids in one class because otherwise it would be too loud, too crowded, and it wouldn't be easy for them to learn because once you have just too much noise around you, you know. So, I think I was surprised, like when I compared, like I said, public schools, like Brazilian and American ones, because you have less students in the classroom, which I think it's great because you can give more attention to your students. You can pay more attention to them. They don't get so distracted. Can I just say about something that I thought very interesting? I just love that here there's only one sharpener in the classroom. Because like in Brazil, each student, they got their own sharpener, their own pencil case. But here, the sharpener is very close to the door or to the teacher's desk, which I think because students, they get very distracted with sharpeners while we're talking. And Glaucia is one of the members of our group. She's also an early years teacher. And the both of us were like, oh, amazing. I have to give this idea back to Brazilian schools because our students, they get so distracted just because they have a sharpener with them. Because sometimes it's harder for kids to pay attention for a long time. Mm. So they just get their sharpener, they start playing with that and sharpening their pencils without needing to sharpen their pencil. So this is one of the details. I was like, oh my God, that's so smart. They have no excuses for that here. You know, like, teacher, I have to sharpen my pencil. Okay, go to run next to the door, do it, and go back to your seat. While in Brazil, sometimes you have to call their attention just because of the sharpness. But I thought it was very interesting.
What about the? I'm real interested too about the buildings, the structure that the kids are learning in. Is there much of a comparison there?
I think here there's students, especially kindergarten, like early years, they have more access to technology. Like I was very surprised when we visit a public school. We do have computers in Brazil, tablets, all that stuff. But here, I think kids, they use more technology in school, which can be good. Mm-hmm. Like something we loved is that they have all their books on the computer, like on Chromebooks. In Brazil, usually all kids, they have to carry their own books, and this can be very heavy for them. But the buildings, I think, what do you think,
in the
Elaine?
college, I was really surprised with the simulated labs in health areas. We visit a college that they have dolls as patients, and they can do everything with this doll. Some dolls can speak.
It was like a human simulator, you know?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yes.
and it was made of
very interesting.
rubber, right? And we were visiting how to say that technical school, and
Career school.
Career school. So some people go there to learn how to, because they want to become a nurse. So they had some human simulation body that was very interesting, right?
Including the internal parts
Yeah.
of
Did
the
it?
body.
Yes,
It was-
right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I think that especially career schools, the tools, the structure of the building itself, it's better, right? We were very surprised. We do have
Yes,
good
very
career
surprised.
schools in Brazil, but here I think it's easier to have access to those things, right? Yeah.
I want to touch on the matter of distractions, which is what you mentioned with pencil sharpeners. You must have the same problem in Brazil that we do here with cell phones, kids and phones. And did we pass legislation prohibiting them in schools? It was certainly a proposal. So how do you handle cell phones in Brazil?
It's also forbidden since last year. So kids can't have their phones with them in schools anymore. Some schools are gonna allow their kids to take cell phones to school, but they can use them. So in some classrooms, we might have a box where they just put their cell phone there and leave it there all day long. Or there are some exceptions. For example, if there's a student with like a health issue, you know, and the mom or parents want to talk to that school their kid right away. So, but no, they can have phones. There was a problem in Brazil too, because kids would get, especially teenagers.
Is that nationwide?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in college, they still can, because it's supposed to be adults, they can stay with the cell phone. And we are trying to use it as a good thing, using an app to involve the students. And now we are having problem with the AI, because we can't identify when AI made the lesson and when it was the student. It's a challenge for us.
Yeah, we're struggling with that too.
Something very positive about not taking cell phones to school, I think it's because kids were losing their social skills. So they would just spend time on their phones whenever they had a break. And now they have to talk to their friends. They have to interact with their
Right.
friends. And now they're improving their motor skills, because before instead of playing volleyball or soccer or dodgeball during break time, they would just spend their time on their phones. So at the beginning, they didn't like it.
Imagine that.
Yeah, they were complaining a lot, like, no, I want to have my phone. You know, you cannot tell me what to do. But then we told them, if your parents want to talk to you, they know you're in school. So they're going to call us and we'll let you know what they want. So it took some weeks, maybe months, for kids to, realize that this would be positive for them.
Have you actually seen a difference? Has it been a visible difference in kids socializing once you got rid of the cell phones?
For sure, 100%.
That's beautiful.
100%. Motor skills, social skills, because once you're holding your phone, all you need is just like one finger to, click on everything or watch a video. So some kids at the beginning, they couldn't hold like a volleyball because their motor skills weren't ready for that, because they were just, distracted by their phones. But now, some kids that at first they thought, I'm not so good at sports. Actually, it's not that they weren't good at sports. They were just not exposed to that, But now they are. So they realize, okay, I think I'm a good volleyball player. I think I can play dodgeball better than I thought. So yeah, for sure. And while you're playing sports, you can also interact with people. So they also improve their social skills. So 100% sure that not having phones in schools were something really good.
And the emotional school skills too, because the cell phone, the students become more anxious because all the time they have dopamine, and then they need this dopamine all the time, and then it's a problem too. They are working with it.
So my children went through Westerville schools. Westerville's a city on the north end of Columbus. And every school has a resource officer, a uniformed police officer they're the city police. Is that the same way in Brazil? Do you have armed police at your schools?
No.
No.
I was surprised actually when I saw a police officer inside of school. We don't have that in Brazil. I think the access people has to guns here in the United States is way easier than we have in Brazil. And so we don't like to mix these things like guns and schools. We just don't mix them. We have which we call like school police, that they go around those areas where there are schools, but they don't go inside. Only if it's like an emergency, which doesn't happen often. So no, we don't have police officers inside of our schools.
Are you aware that teachers can be armed?
In the States?
In the States?
I've heard about, I'm not so...
You haven't seen it yet?
And, we're not allowed to have guns in Brazilian schools. We don't have that. So I was very surprised. I could say that's very different for us.
I asked my daughter about this, and I think I told Jack that I said, what do you think about, having training and the schools give you a firearm to have during the day? And she had a couple of really good points, but she goes, I can't get chalk. I have to buy it on my own. They're going to fund, guns in schools. And then she said that in her district, which was a rural district, she goes, the boys there hunt all the time. She goes, I'd rather them bring their guns to school because they actually use them. She just thought it was really asinine to have teachers armed, but that's the state of it. Do you have fears of shootings in your schools? I know it happens occasionally, even in Brazil, but it seems here that it dominates, a lot of our politics.
Do you know? Should I? No, we don't. We're not afraid of that. It happened already, but not a lot. So, I am not afraid that one of my students will have a gun because, as I said, it's forbidden. So that's not something we think a lot. Like I said, it can happen for sure, but it's not common at all. Like I said, if you find out the news, if you go on Google and you try to find it, you might find, maybe sometimes that happened, but it's not as often as it happens here.
I would suspect, and I say this without the benefit of a lot of research, the United States is unique in the problem that we face because everybody else exercises common sense when it comes to guns. There's my political statement for the day.
Actually, there is data to back that up.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm going to cite Tracy then.
And whenever that happened in Brazilian schools, it was also always linked to bullying, know, so I think it's pretty much the same here. So whenever the police was trying to figure out why that kid took a gun to school, they would just find out that that kid was being, bullied.
Sure.
Or just, didn't like something that a friend did. But no, it's not common to have guns in school in Brazil. Not at all.
One of the other things I was thinking about and the challenges to American schools are the funding. And in Ohio, it's funded through our property taxes. So if you own a home or a piece of property, part of what you pay in taxes go to the schools, which tends to give wealthier areas more money than poor areas. Do you guys discuss or do you know how your schools are funded in Brazil?
We in Brazil we have the elementary school and the high school is maintained by the municipal government, and the college by the state or federal foundation. And in Brazil, one of the difference that we saw here, that when you say that the public school, it's really, we don't need to pay any tuition.
Yeah. And public universities actually.
In the public university, and also in the all levels of the school.
Of teaching, elementary,
you don't need to pay any tuition. And when in this public school, we have a lot of competition because everybody wants to study there.
Because they're the best ones in Brazil. Like São Paulo University, USP, is the best one in Latin America and one of the 10th best in the world.
And that's a public school?
100% public.
And no tuition?
No, nothing. You don't pay anything.
Anything. And I was surprised that I didn't know that here in the public school you need to pay tuition. And about the dormitories. I didn't know that the students need to be in the dormitory. I thought it was an option. If they live in another state or another city, they need the dorms.
Right.
But they need to stay in the dorm. It was a surprise.
Wait, they need to live in a dormitory during medical school, you're saying?
No, like in Marietta, when we visit Marietta College, they have dorms for students, and all students, they have to live in the dorms. They can't go home. They have to stay there.
Oh, yeah. A lot of colleges are like that. At least for a couple of years, they have a mandatory, because those dorms would sit empty.
But in Brazil, this dormitories is for people that can't pay another place to stay. If I can't pay, I need help. When I did my graduation, I live in a dormitory, but I can't pay for a place to stay, so I stay in the dorms free. I didn't need to pay anything.
When we say public schools in Brazil, we mean 100% public, no paying for anything.
So when you're done visiting and observing, what do you do with the information? What happens to it? Is it? I'm assuming it's shared with others. It's not just for your own benefit.
Yes, when I come back to Brazil, we need to share this information. In Rotary meetings, we have a conference in this year, not next,
in our district,
in May, in our district, and we need to share with others how we can ideas and something like that. And I intend to share with my fellows in my college too. And Amanda,
that are. So we're having many ideas why we're, here in Ohio. We have been seeing so many things. So when we go back to Brazil, as Elaine said, we're going to share all these ideas with our Rotary clubs, also to give them ideas for new projects regarding education, and also to the place where we work. For example, like I said before, I think libraries here are just amazing. The impact libraries have in the community here. They help homeless people. I know that library in Zanesville, they used to, if you borrow a book, but you just forgot to take it back, you're supposed to pay a fee for that.
Right.
But then they said, this is something that people would feel embarrassed, to go there and oh, okay, here you go. I have to pay for it because I forgot to give the book back. So they just don't pay anymore. They don't charge a fee anymore because people feel more comfortable. They say, okay, you can have this book for as long as you need and just give it back to us whenever you remember to give it back. So it's also a place that people can just, like I said, homeless people can go there sometimes just to have a break or if they want to read something. In Brazil, libraries, they're not this active, not in our region, right? So this is something I really want to take back to Brazil with me and to share with our Rotary clubs to try to make our libraries more, be more part of the community.
That's
Yes.
a good way of saying it. Libraries really have done a nice job of keeping up with the times and providing services that people need as technology has increased.
Yes, I think that was very interesting, this library, that they said that they deliver the book because they have a lot of rural areas in Zanesville, so people can't come to the library, so they have some cars that go
really?
to people and deliver the book. I thought it's amazing.
So it sounds like you've had a positive impression of our educational system, which is good to hear. I think there's a saying that you learn more from your failures than your successes, and it sounds to me like hopefully the people of Brazil, the students of Brazil, are going to be able to benefit from our failures and our successes when you go back. So we really appreciate you coming and talking to us. And Tracy, thank you for introducing them to us.
Thank you so much. This has been just an amazing experience.
Thank you so much for having us.
We're so glad to have you with us. Thank you. Our thanks to WOSU and our sound engineer, Dalton Jones. If you like what you've heard, tell a friend. We want this to be more than just us. We want it to be all of us. Follow us on your favorite podcast app. Submit a review. Help elevate our profile so that other podcast listeners can find us. We'll be back in another week or so with another social justice issue. Until then, so long.